Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow conservatives, fellow patriots, or as our friends on the left would say, like maybe Hillary, welcome, fellow deplorables, rock dwellers, or as Obama would call us, bitter clinger-oners, or just plain bad people, or as Mrs. Obama would call us, people who are motivated by hatred and bigotry and racism. Biden, he'd call us chumps. Other Democratic leaders have called us squealing pigs, hostage takers, terrorists, saboteurs, arsonists. It is interesting with all this unity in the air, that those are the names they call us while calling us to be unified. But welcome. You are welcome here, even though they call us all these horrible names. I'm George Landreth, and I am here with Melissa Isaac. We are your Conservative Commandos host today. She, of course, is an attorney in Montgomery, Alabama, and I am through the, we're not in the same room or the same even state. I'm in Virginia. I run Frontiers of Freedom, but we're able to do this and co-host together because of Al Gore's amazing internet. But anyhow, thanks for joining with me, Melissa, tonight and being in a position to do the show. What are you looking at this week? It's another slow news week. Not much is happening. So what's caught your eye and attention?
It's more mainstream media denying that there's any evidence whatsoever of voter fraud, despite the hundreds, if not thousands, of affidavits alleging voter fraud. People who have actually witnessed voter fraud firsthand.
So wait a minute, an affidavit is evidence? You're an attorney, is it?
Right. Right. So
how about eyewitness testimony? Is that evidence?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, we have this election that I do believe Trump won overwhelmingly, and I think a lot of people, share that sentiment. So, but the mainstream media just say, no, there's no evidence of it. These are just more conspiracy theories. Trump's tweeting out lies. So, it's amazing how it's not even, despite the evidence, they're just kind of suppressing everything. But I did see, it was retired General Thomas McInerney did an interview, and he was talking about the hammer and scorecard. And I didn't realize it, but there was a man named Dennis Montgomery who actually created the software. I think it was for the CIA. And the CIA, according to this interview I watched, actually kind of used it to interfere in elections in foreign countries. But that's the same software. I think that's now being used. So if we know that the software that is used to, steal votes, change votes, to meddle in elections, but yet we're turning a blind eye. It's amazing to me what we're simply ignoring versus saying, let's get in here and make sure that this was a free and fair election. We need to go, let's do some investigation, or say, nope, investigation not necessary. All of you Americans, over half of the country who's upset right now, you just got to swallow that big blue pill because it's just what's going to happen. And of course, we all know the media calls elections, right? And they've already called this election. So they're saying, why are you guys still contesting this? We've already called it.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution, I think. That's how we pick our presidents. It says that once ABC News or NBC or any of the major news networks call the election, then that's who the next president is. Isn't that what it says? I can't. Maybe I may be misremembering that.
Apparently, that's what they're saying. So, but it's not. Michigan, though, they refused to certify the results because they didn't follow the rules, and they recognized that the rules weren't being followed. I think Trump now, took North Carolina, so there's some upsets up there. There's some upsets coming, but I wish the media would just get off their narrative. Because, if you look back into 2016, Trump was called everything. Trump was Hitler. Trump was this. And then he won the election. I think the media was taken back, like, wait a minute. Did you not hear what we said? Did you not hear what we reported? And I think 2016 is the first time the media realized, gosh, I don't think we have the hold on people that we once had.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. It's one of the things I think is interesting about this whole issue is if you look at the election results, Biden underperformed in virtually every area that Hillary performed poorly in. He performed less well with blacks, with Hispanics. Trump did better, for example, with even with suburban women. We were told who hated him, right? He did better with them than he had in 2016. But there was a couple places that Biden, did better than Hillary did. And incidentally, they were all battleground states that, it was Pennsylvania. It wasn't even Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania. He didn't perform that well in Pennsylvania. He performed really well in Philadelphia. He performed really well in Atlanta. He performed really well in, I think in Michigan, it was in the Detroit area. So there's these pockets of places. Everywhere else in the country, he underperforms. And the party in general underperforms. We were told there was going to be a blue wave, and there was no blue wave except in about 4 or 5, urban metropolitan areas where the Democrats have one-party control. And magically, somehow there, he did much better. But pay no attention. These are not the droids you're looking for. It's very odd to me. I'm not a statistician, but I have some friends who are, and they've looked at the numbers and they've just said, no way these numbers are real. There's no way. It's not mathematically possible for these numbers to be real. And I'll take them at their word because they're the experts and I'm not. It's like if I go see a heart doctor, if he tells me my heart's having troubles, I'll take him at his word because I don't know enough to know different. But on a practical basis, there's a certain level of, when I hear them say that, I kind of go, yeah, that makes sense, because we look at trends. I know how you look at elections, and I know that when you see your guy overperforming in the adversary's backyard, it looks like good things might be starting to happen. And then all of a sudden you find out that, that's not what, it changes dramatically, but not everywhere else. It just, it's just kind of, we don't really vote that way as a country. There's no real reason why Philadelphia specifically or Detroit would vote one way, but the rest of the country, it's very weird to me. So I think you make a good point. There's some evidence of voter fraud there, and they behave like there's voter fraud going on. In other words, the example would be, you caught me with a big stack of money from a bank. You can trace it through numbers. It's from the bank. And then, and on top of that, I act like I robbed the bank because I'm running away from the police. I'm doing other weird things. When you ask me why I got the money, I start telling you lies, things you can prove are lies. At some point you go, that's consciousness of guilt, and it's actually evidence that you're doing what it looks like you're doing. Yep. I mean, am I misstating the law?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and that's what I find very odd is things like not allowing poll watchers to actually be close enough to see anything at all and excluding them. They're doing all kinds of weird things. It's like, I'm sorry, this is not behavior consistent with somebody who's following the law. Mm-hmm. And yet, bottom line is though, don't you dare talk about that. And you need to shut up, and you need to get on board. We're ready to go and be united now. It's like, oh, okay, I gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the conservatives have definitely had their fill of being censored. They've had their fill of the fact checking on social media about getting put in, the Facebook jail. There's been a huge wave go over to Parler. I don't know if you've noticed on your news feed, but on mine, there's a lot of people screenshotting their Parler profiles. I know I went over to Parler, and there's definitely a mass exodus right now from the liberal social media.
And the left's going crazy about that. I mean, they are really worried. You've seen on CNN, they have claimed this is a danger, that conservatives leaving is a danger to free expression. First of all, I'm sorry, the people who don't care about free expression can't lecture me about free expression. And secondly, I think that if I change my subscription from one magazine or newspaper to another, how can you argue that's a problem with free expression? I'm just making a choice. That's the whole point is. And yet they act as if somehow, you have an obligation, Melissa. You must get your news from Facebook. You must, okay. It doesn't really sound that free to me, but okay, I gotcha. These are totalitarians at heart.
Absolutely. But I think that the last 4 years have been big for the media companies, for the social media companies, because they're seeing that, first of all, we can do like we're doing right now. We can spread the information out there that we're hearing that the mainstream media won't spread that information out. We're saying, hey, look, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. This is what my neighbors are saying firsthand that the media won't report. So, the internet social media it's a double-edged sword, right? Social media, I think, is responsible for the spreading of a lot of misinformation, and of course just furthers a lot of propaganda. But then again, it's also a platform for you and I, for this show, to get out there and talk. We wouldn't have had this otherwise. So it's a double-edged sword. But the media's really found out that, geez, I just can't spoon feed the American people whatever I want anymore. They're waking up, and they're starting to be more dialectical in their thinking, and we're not just chewing on the fat that the news media shoves in our mouth.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. I think that's one of the reasons why they've started to censor, is they realize that this platform that allows conservatives to express themselves and communicate, we need to shut this down and make sure it's only usable by liberals. Whereas it didn't start off that way. And I think you're exactly right. It is a double-edged sword. I mean, there's all kinds of things on the internet that are, as good, decent people, we'd say, I don't want that in my house, whether it's whether it's pornography or just out and out hateful lies or insanity. But at the same time, it allows people to connect with their grandkids in ways they didn't used to be able to if they lived across the country. They only could see them once a year when they saw them at Christmas time. Now they can get on FaceTime and read their grandkids' stories and talk with them. They can do genealogy research, whereas you used to have to go, get on a plane and fly to the place wherever your ancestors used to live and do research. So it's you're right. It's like anything. Cars are awesome. And they allow people to travel. But guess what? Bank robbers use them as getaway vehicles. Yeah. So, everything can be used for good and bad. And sometimes we just have to remember that and make sure we, accentuate the positive and limit as much as we can the negative.
That's right.
Well, we are up against the break, so we ought to take some time just to talk with our sponsors and conduct a little business so we can keep on the air. But I do want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. She's Melissa Isaac. I'm George Landreth. We're coming to the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're also on the AUN TV network. We're on Roku, and we're also on Al Gore's Amazing Internet. Just want to remind you about our website, ccrshow.com. All the information is there. You can find us on iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live, you name it. We truly are everywhere, but don't go away. Melissa and I will be right back.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show, the AM and TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, Roku, with our own Conservative Commandos channel, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. CCRshow.com is perhaps the best place to go on Al Gore's amazing internet, but we are truly everywhere. I'm George Landreth, and she is Melissa Isaac. So, Melissa, with that, let me ask you, what are some of the other issues you see as important right now that are going on? Because one of my fears is that we live in a world in which First Amendment freedoms, which I think only less than a generation ago were universally respected by Americans, and not so much anymore.
No, I think there's a lot of, especially with the COVID shutdowns, I think people are worried about their freedom of religion. I think they're worried about a lot of things. Well, we start with freedom of religion because, the states are saying, okay, you can't go to church, don't sing praises, to God. You can't pray in groups of people. But if you need to go to the liquor store, go ahead and buy a bottle of whiskey. Or if you need to get an abortion, you can go do that too. These are things that are.
Or if you need to go gamble and play the slot machines, you can go to a casino. They're okay too. Apparently, it's a very, very smart virus because it attacks you while you're at church, but not when you're in line at Costco. Yeah. It attacks you, again, while at church or while having dinner with your family on holidays, but not when you're, at the casino, the liquor store, or other. I just kind of scratch my head and say, I didn't realize that this was that smart a virus that it can kind of pick and choose. I thought it. Anyhow, I obviously am not a doctor, neither are you, but I'm a little puzzled by the assumptions that they seem to be buying into.
Yeah. And, there's litigation in various states about the mask mandates, about the church closures, and with mixed results. But it's scary nonetheless that the state can say, you can get arrested. You look at Pastor Tony Spell. If you go against the state's closures, if you don't social distance or wear your mask, you can be arrested. Yep. So, and I've heard it spill over. People say, I don't want to take the corona vaccine. And people say, well, they can't. There's no such thing as mandatory vaccinations. Yeah, there's Supreme Court precedent from 1904 where, yes, they can. So I think, we as Americans, I think generally we're so content with this is a free country. I have constitutional rights. And I think, for the first time, we're seeing an infringement upon that where the Supreme Court is saying, yeah, actually the state can do that. There's certain emergency powers that the states can evoke where they can take that right away from you. And we as Americans, for the first time, we're rocking back on our heels saying, wait a minute, what? So you're telling me I can't do something? And the Supreme Court is saying, states have this authority, they have this power.
I mean, you make a very good point.
It's a slippery slope.
Justice Alito happens to agree with you. He has come out and said that he's concerned that COVID has essentially led to a constitutional stress test for religious freedom, and he basically just says it's it's overboard because in the Constitution the Constitution actually isn't really a list of rights. It's actually more a procedural document that tells how we do things. And I would argue even the first 10 amendments aren't really rights because the First Amendment doesn't say you have the right to free speech. It says Congress shall make no law. So it's a limitation on government taking that right from you. Right. What's relevant there is our founders clearly believed you had that right, and they wanted to make sure government couldn't take it from you, and now they are, and they're claiming there's an emergency that justifies it. And I think if you look back in history, tyrants always come up with emergencies to support the things that they want to do. They never come out and say, I'm a bad person with bad intentions, and I want to stomp all over your rights, and I'm going to do it because I'm in office. That's not their appeal. Right. It's always there's some, And so I think he's saying this is a problem. And he pointed out, he says, I think, this is what he said in a speech, think of all the live events that would otherwise be protected. Worship services, but yet churches closed on Easter Sunday. Synagogues closed for Passover on Yom Kippur. The COVID crisis has served as a sort of constitutional stress test. And in so doing, it has highlighted the disturbing trends that were already present before the virus attacked. And he's talking about which is the left's hostility to religious freedom. And I would argue to freedom of the press, too. They're not interested in freedom of the press. They're interested in their freedom of the press. But if you exercise freedom of the press, they want to shut you down. Their freedom of the press is important, not yours. And that means there isn't freedom of the press then.
That's right. Well, and then, one question I've had as of late is, what is the press? So I think when you say the press, you think the press is reporting the news. The press is reporting certain events, or they're reporting facts and situations. But it's not. It's narratives, they're hit pieces, and they're opinion pieces. That's all they are. So, if we had I'm all for freedom of press, but I don't think that you should have a multi-billion-dollar company that says, oh, we're a news agency, we're a reporting agency, and all they're doing is hit pieces on, political opponents, because that's what the press has turned into. Right. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here, right?
No, exactly. And the truth is, today we can all be press. We can all publish articles or produce a television or a radio program. And there ought to be freedoms from the government trying to shut you down or silence you. And yet today, the Washington Post would like you to believe that they have freedom of the press, but you don't, because you're not really press. Because they have this press credential that makes them press. You guys make this garbage up.
Well, they must have some credentials, because how is it the Washington Post ends up with highly classified governmental emails? I mean, they must have these sources, which, by the way, it's illegal for people to leak things to the press. And why isn't this ever investigated? So I'm not getting on a soapbox there, but you're right. The Washington Post, they want us to rely on them. And if you have a different opinion, well, you're just a racist anyway. You're destroying this country. So. Right. But we don't have a press anymore, a mainstream press. We just don't. I mean, even Fox News. If you go on Facebook,
journalism is dead in America.
Journalism is dead. It's gone unless you go to the alternative media.
Yeah.
Journalism by far is dead. It's all. I mean, they're just extensions of politicians. That's all these media companies are anymore. Right. That's it.
And we spent 4 years investigating the concept or the allegation that Donald Trump was a Russian sleeper agent and basically under the thumb of Putin, and that they had compromising information they were using. 4 years. It turns out there was never any evidence of that. It was all trumped up. They lied to a FISA court judge to get and then they didn't get any information to substantiate even with that. But now. Impunity. Yeah, but now we have credible evidence, not made up, not lies, actual documents, emails from Hunter Biden's computer that say that the Biden family is compromised by the communist Chinese. And there was zero interest in the press to cover that.
None.
And it's just like I say, if someone tells me the press is alive and well in America, I'd say, oh no, they are dead. Mm-hmm. It's just stunning to me to see that. It's very frustrating, because I would argue that in a free society, you do need a free press and you do need a robust debate. But we've gotten to a point now where that's not really possible anymore. The press doesn't serve that function. They largely suppress views they don't agree with. They try to silence people that they think don't have the right view. And that didn't used to be the way it was. And I'm not saying the press wasn't always biased. There was always a bias, but bias was subtle. They would at least cover the news. And maybe they would reveal how they felt about the story in the word selection, but they still covered it. They didn't just, steadfastly ignore it and pretend it wasn't there. And that's what they did with the Hunter Biden story. I just think it's amazing that that's where we are in the world. And it just highlights, I think, the danger that America is in and how close we are to the precipice. Because if religious freedom, if the idea of a robust debate in our society is lost, and let's be honest, the left is not just that we don't have a good press that does its job. We actually have people that want to enforce speech codes.
Right.
In other words, on college campuses, there's a place on campus that's 10 feet wide on a certain day where you can hand out a copy of the Constitution, but don't you dare do it any other time. It's like, wait a minute, I thought the whole United States was a free speech zone. And so it's just amazing to me. And I feel like Alito is right. We are in some struggling and difficult constitutional times, and Americans are going to have to really stand up for the Constitution. Or we're going to lose those rights.
It's going to have to come from us, because one of the big frustrations during this time is that we have a lot of legislators, and they're silent. They're quiet right now. They're just letting everything happen. We don't even know who the decision makers are right now. So if there's going to be some sort of preservation of our constitutional republic, not democracy, of our constitutional republic, is going to have to come from us, because we're watching our lawmakers sit idle. We are seeing the Department of Justice being completely corrupt. We're seeing the IRS as a political tool with no accountability. And I think that's so frustrating. Look what General Flynn went through. There's evidence there that the FBI knew what they were saying was their evidence was withheld and misrepresented to the FISA court with impunity. Mm-hmm. Why is it? Why? How do these people keep getting away with these things? But yet, you and I, as Americans, right? If we do one little thing wrong, right? Okay, everything's blown up. We're held accountable, but our leaders are not. Our elected officials are not, and the people who are living off our tax dollars are not. And we're sick of that. But it's going to be up to us to dig our heels in and to stop it. Otherwise, I'm afraid for the future of our republic.
Absolutely. Well, there's no doubt in my mind that if you or I were to falsify documents and present them to a judge and swear under oath to the judge that these represented the facts as best we knew them, that you and I would have an invitation to spend time in the courthouse jail for contempt of court at the very least, and probably for after a conviction for perjury and obstruction of justice. But you and I, that doesn't work that way if you work at the FBI. It's all okay there. You can do it. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. But we are up against the break. We've got to take a quick break. We've got some great guests coming up, so don't go away. I can promise you, I won't give you all the names because we don't have time, but we always have great guests, and these will be no exception to that. Just want to remind you, this is the Conservative Commandos. She is Melissa Isaac. I'm George Landreth, and the Conservative Commandos will be right back after these messages.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show. Thanks to the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network. We even have our own Roku channel now. And on top of that, of course, you always have Al Gore's amazing internet. So there's never an excuse for missing the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. I'm one of your Conservative Commandos hosts today. I'm glad you're with us. I do want to remind you, if you've missed any portion of the show or you want to get a rebroadcast, ccrshow.com is the place to go. I'm very pleased to introduce our guest, Hans von Spakovsky. Now, Hans is somebody I've admired for a long time. I also count him as a friend, but he is somebody who I would argue is truly a friend of the Constitution and the concept of liberty as we have grown to understand it in America. He's an attorney. He's a former member of the Federal Election Commission. He is now with the Heritage Foundation, their election law reform initiative, and he's a senior fellow at the Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. He's one of the smart guys, quite frankly. He is a person who digs into the facts and brings you information, A, you can count on, and B, he gives you analysis that's sound and reasonable. So with that, Hans, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Well, thanks for having me. Boy, that's quite an introduction. You've given me a lot to live up to.
And I have no doubt you will more than do all of that, just because I know you, I've heard you speak before, I have no doubt. So, but you've done a lot of work throughout your career. Not that it's the only thing you do, but it's one of your major focuses is on election integrity and voter fraud. And I'm going to be quiet, but I just want to explain to my listeners why the work that you do is so important. And it didn't become important on November 3rd. It was important, 10 years ago. It was important 15 years ago. It's always been important. And the reason is because for a democratic republic where we vote and have representation to work, we have to trust the system. Because if we don't trust the system, we will eventually revert to the other system. The one we had before we had a constitution, before society decided, let's vote about this. And that was a society in which the side that had the most weapons and was most skillfully able to wield those weapons was able to impose its will on the other half of society. Our founders rejected that methodology. And many other nations were beginning to reject that methodology, and wisely so. But it has to be real. And so I think what you're doing goes to the very question of whether or not as a society we can long endure as a free people, a people that is engaged in self-governance, that holds meaningful elections. So one, I want to thank you for the work you do because it makes a difference. And then two, I want to be quiet now and ask you to look at what's happening in the world today and put it all in context. But I just wanted our listeners to know you're not just here because it's a topical topic. You're here because it's a foundational topic.
Well, look, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And look, having free and secure elections, if you don't have that, you can't have a democratic republic, period. And unless people have the confidence in the system such that they know that the person that gets the majority of the vote is duly elected, without that, you just can't have the kind of constitutional structure we have and the kind of federal republic that we have. And I think too many people take this for granted, George. They don't understand that, unfortunately, we have had a long history of election fraud in this country. It goes back to our very beginning, incidents of it throughout history, and people trying to take advantage of the system. I mean, look, people take advantage today, take for granted the fact that, as you know, we have a secret ballot, right? We didn't have a secret ballot in this country for a long time. A secret ballot was developed in the late 1800s, early 1900s, because there was so much fraud in elections, and in particular, local political bosses would pressure people and pay people to vote a particular way, and without a secret ballot, they could tell how you were voting. So this is not something new; it's something old, and also those who think it's just kind of disappeared and that we don't have it anymore. All you got to do is do a Google search over the last 5 months, and you will find individuals indicted in different parts of the country for engaging in fraud. In Texas, in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in fact, in Georgia and elsewhere, people engaging in fraud, being caught, and being charged with it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I know this because I'm not the expert you are, but in preparation for my show every week, I ask staff and I look for news stories that I think would be interesting. And almost every week, I could talk about voter fraud as a current event because there's some article somewhere in the country about an indictment, a conviction, someone being sent to prison, almost every single week. And yet, every discussion I've ever had about voter fraud begins with the guy on the left telling me there's no such thing. And then when I give him some examples to say, actually, that's not true, there is such a thing, they then immediately retreat to, well, yes, but it's very inconsequential. It doesn't actually matter. And it's but a minute ago, you said there wasn't any. It was like,
Right. Well, my reaction to that is that's like somebody saying that the shoplifters who've been convicted and who are in jail, those are the only shoplifters in the entire United States. There's no other shoplifting going on anywhere. Yeah. And of course, you talk to any retailer and they'll tell you the number of people who are actually charged and convicted of shoplifting is a fraction of the shoplifting they actually see.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that makes sense because basically the people who are good at shoplifting get away with it.
Right.
And the ones who get caught are generally the ones who aren't that good, or at least they were unlucky. And the same thing I'm assuming is probably with voter fraud, because when I read most of the voter fraud stories that I've seen in the news, I kind of scratch my head and go, I've never engaged in voter fraud, but I think I could figure out a better scheme than that one. That seems pretty lame to me. Like, I don't know. It's like walking into a bank and writing the note for how much money you want put in a bag and so forth on the back of your driver's license and then leaving it with them. You know, it's like, that's kind of dumb. I'm not a bank robber, but I wouldn't do that.
Right. In fact, there was a story just within the last couple of months in the New York Post. They interviewed and spoke with a political consultant, a Democratic political consultant, anonymously, but they confirmed his entire background and all the campaigns he had worked for. And he basically explained how he had engaged in absentee ballot fraud and had successfully submitted fraudulent ballots in multiple elections throughout New Jersey. And he was actually just shaking his head and kind of laughing at the people who got caught because exactly that, the stupid mistakes they made. And he said he'd been doing it for years and he had never gotten caught because he was very smart about the way he did it.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, if you think about it, if we all have to show up in person, voter fraud and present an ID and so forth, voter fraud can still happen, but it probably is more de minimis, and it's it's just harder to pull it off if you have to show up in person and show an ID and so forth. But when you can just mail in your ballot, when they're just mailing out millions of ballots, and if it goes to the wrong address or whatever, you can just mail those in. It becomes really easy. Voter fraud becomes like, it's like, is it hard to overpark your parking meter? No, it's really easy. But here, they don't have a way to catch you because, it's a mail-in thing. So I'm puzzled by this move to do that. And you might give us some discussion because we've moved now to moving away from a voter day. And if we wanted to have a couple days for voting, that's fine. Maybe we could turn it into a weekend and go, we'll vote Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Because that way it doesn't matter what day you have to get off or whatever. I could live with that as a thing. But this idea we're going to vote for 2 months,
right?
To me, is crazy.
Bad idea. Bad policy for all kinds of reasons. And this push towards getting as many people to vote by mail also is bad for a whole host of reasons, and it increases the insecurity of the election process.
Yeah, and we see that this time. I mean,
right.
You know, in the 2000 election, there was, I mean, there may have been voter fraud. I'm not arguing there wasn't, but the issue at stake there really wasn't voter fraud. It was this hanging chads question. You know, and Al Gore wanted to exclude certain military ballots and only recount in certain counties that he thought would net him seats versus not recounting statewide and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really, at least there wasn't a major fear, because back then people mostly had. And obviously, mail-in voting is different than absentee voting because it's not massive. You have to actually request a ballot.
Right.
And so forth. But at any rate, it's just interesting to see the difference there. But we've got lots more to talk about, but at least looks like the clock is beginning to narrow in on us on this segment. So I'm hoping you can stick around for one more segment because we need to hear more from Hans von Spakovsky.
Sure, happy to do that.
I want you to raise our collective IQ. So that's your assignment, and so far you've been doing that, so I appreciate it. But as I said, we're up against the break, and I just want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. We're having a great conversation with Hans von Spakovsky, and we will be right back after these messages. Just remind you, if you missed any portion of this show, get a rebroadcast, ccrshow.com.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show, thanks to AUN TV Network, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Roku, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. We've been having a great conversation with Hans von Spakovsky. He is an expert on election law and voter integrity and the issues that we see now before us with fraud. So thanks for sticking through the break with us, Hans.
Sure
we
thing.
really appreciate it. I wanted to ask you, right now we're witnessing a lot of, if you will, potential problems and vulnerabilities, as it were. And part of it is we need to sort through those, hopefully, so we can make sure this election is secure. But also, quite frankly, as I said, we're not on this show. You're not here today because this is topical. You're here because it's foundational. So moving forward, what do we need to do to make sure that our election process is something that Americans can believe in and be confident in? Because that's important. When you lose, you have to know, okay, I lost, not I was cheated. I've lost an election. It's no fun. It really sucks, quite frankly. But you know what? If you believe it's real, you just, feel bad for a day and then you move on and you get ready and either run for re-election or whatever. But when you feel like you were cheated, it changes everything. So how do we do that?
Well, you start with the voter registration rolls, which are in very bad shape across the country. States don't do a good job of cleaning them up. And because we have such a decentralized system, the states run elections here, not the federal government, it's relatively easy to cheat across states. So here's what needs to be done. First of all, every state needs to have a law that says that when you vote, whether it's in person or by absentee ballot, you have to show a photo ID. And, every state that's passed a law like that, unfortunately not enough of them, has put in a provision saying, look, if you don't already have photo ID, you can get one for free from the state. So it's not a burden on voters to do that. But you need to show ID, just like we do in so many other occasions in everyday life, not just for voting in person, but voting absentee also. Second, every state should require proof of citizenship when you register to vote. I mean, that's a simple requirement, easily met, but again, it's a way of preventing people who are not U.S. citizens from registering and voting, which we actually know is occurring all over the country. States aren't doing the most basic cleanups of their voter rolls. They're not regularly checking, for example, the Social Security Administration's master death index to take people off who've died. They're not taking people off who have moved to other states, which brings up the specter of someone registering and voting in two different states, which we know happens. And one of the reasons for that is states aren't doing a good job of comparing their voter list with that of other states, California and New York being two big examples of that. Another problem we have is individuals registering not at their home address where they reside, which is what the law requires in every state, but registering at commercial addresses. Vacant lots, office buildings, etc., which is frankly another way of cheating the system. Well, it's ridiculous that happens, and here's why, George. Think about this. Voter registration is done at the county government level. Well, what's the number one priority of county government? It's to collect property taxes, right? That's how they fund everything they do. So that means that their county tax records department have detailed knowledge on every single piece of property in a county. Yet you know, election officials do not compare the voter registration applications they get from folks that list their supposed residential address with their county records to make sure it really is a residential address. I mean, that's such a simple thing they could be doing, and it would obviate that particular problem.
Well, particularly in a world in which you have computers and databases, because it can very quickly compare that data for you and then flag everything that's a problem, and then a human could go through it to make sure it's not a space or a comma or something odd, but it actually is a discrepancy. You know, it's amazing to me, because it's like they think we still live in 1880, where we're going through big, thick, leather-bound books in the courthouse.
Right, and not only that, but look, again, they know if on a piece of property there's an apartment building or a single family home, and yet they don't have any processes in place to trigger an alarm if, for example, they discover that there are 30 people registered to vote at a single family home. I mean, that's a pretty clear indication that there's a problem there, and yet they don't have any of the procedures in place to try to catch something like that. I mean, these are just a whole series of things that they ought to do to try to fix the problems that we have, and in particular the vulnerabilities that are in the system. Look, another just basic thing that ought to be happening that isn't is, and George, you know this, right? There's a requirement under federal law that if you as an employer hire a new employee, you've got to get documentation from them showing that they are either a U.S. citizen or they're a non-citizen who's here legally but has a work permit. And the alternative that DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has set up to that is, you know, they have a center you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and check on the citizenship status of anybody you want to hire. Well, why aren't election officials using that very same system to check on the citizenship status of people who are registering to vote? Yeah, they're not doing it.
That's very interesting. It's troubling too, because like I said, this is foundational. If we want to continue to be the world's greatest democratic republic with a self-governance and this wonderful constitution that we've been given by our forefathers, we're going to have to get this right. Otherwise, we will devolve into essentially, kind of violence in the streets, which it's not the world I want my children and grandchildren to grow up in. I want them to grow up in the kind of world I did, which was you trusted elections, you didn't always like the results, but you shrugged your shoulders and said, well, I guess we lost.
Me too.
That's the right world to live in, but somehow we now that leads me to this question. It seems self-evident that everybody should want that, but I've kind of noticed that's not in fact the case. That you're getting a lot of pushback from certain people, and they tend to be people who are on the left. So my question is, why? What are they so opposed to having a confidence in a system? Because that would make their candidate's election more legitimate and reduce questions about legitimacy. But they still say, no, we're not interested.
Well, look, I think as a general rule, they really believe that the end justifies the means. And all of the changes in the rules they've been pushing, frankly, make it easier to cheat and easier to manipulate election results. And I think it's frankly because they want that. And I'll give you a specific example of what I mean. Several years ago, the Republican-controlled legislature in the state of Virginia passed a very common sense law. Remember, when you're called for jury duty, courts usually get the people they call for jury duty from the voter registration list. So the legislature passed a statute that said to the state courts in Virginia, if you call an individual for jury duty and an individual is excused from jury duty because they are not a U.S. citizen, you have to forward that information to election officials so they can take them off the voter rolls.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of like self-evidently a good idea.
Well, of course it is. Now, the governor at the time was Terry McAuliffe, former head of the Democratic National Committee. He vetoed the bill. Now, there is no rational reason for vetoing a bill like that unless you want non-citizens to be able to register and vote and get away with it, despite the fact that it's illegal. What other possible reason could you have for that? And I think it's because people like Terry McAuliffe They want non-citizens voting because they believe they'll vote for their political party. It'll help them win elections. Why veto a bill like that?
That makes a lot of sense. That's frustrating, and it's very, very harmful to our society. But those are some great things for us to think about and things for us to work on. As I think our listeners and viewers need to follow the work that you do, be aware of it, advocate for that policy with the people they support, and create essentially a groundswell of support for getting this right. Because if we want our children and grandchildren to inherit what we got, and even better, then we better get this right, because it'll devolve pretty quickly if we don't. I think we can see that kind of right now. But how can our viewers and listeners follow your work on at Heritage, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is? All things Hans von Spakovsky. How do we do it without you feeling the need to get a court order that we don't stalk you?
Well, the best place to go is heritage.org, heritage.org. The advantage of that is, as you know, George, I publish in many different places, including Fox News, but Heritage always takes whatever I've published elsewhere and then republishes it on the Heritage website. So that's the best place to go.
Fair enough. It's all there then. Good. That's I can guarantee our viewers and listeners, if they'll go there, once they go there and read the things that you've written, they will be better citizens and smarter citizens and better capable of defending a system that involves, a peaceful transfer of power from one government to the next, and elections that have validity. So I think, again, thanks for what you do. Please don't stop. It's important, and I'm glad you're manning that ship.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed speaking to you, as always.
Absolutely. Well, this is the Conservative Commandos, and we will be right back after these messages. But I do want to remind you, you can check out our website, ccrshow.com. You can get a rebroadcast there. You can get more information. Don't go away. The Conservative Commandos will be back.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now, because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now. now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carried on the AUN TV network. That's the America Uncensored News Network, as well as, of course, the Conservative Commandos radio network. And we've got a Roku channel now. And if you don't have any of those things nearby, never fear. Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. We truly are everywhere. I'm George Landreth. I'm glad you stuck with us because we've got a great interview coming up. Just before we jump into that, I want to remind you, if you want to see or hear a rebroadcast of our show or earlier shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com. I'm pleased to introduce, and I feel a little sheepish introducing him because he's really part of the family, but the bottom line is we have Dan Gaynor with us. He is the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. They're a great group, mrc.org. You ought to look them up if you don't have them on your quick stuff, Newsbusters. They're great. You got to go there. Dan is not just a critic of the media. He's been a long time member of the media, so he knows how it works. He knows it from the inside, and he's one of the bright minds in Washington. I'm glad to call him a friend, and you should be glad he's on our program. So with that, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, Dan.
Well, thanks for that small build-up,
You always live up to it, so it's no worry.
As you know, DC is just filled with ego. So no matter how enormous my ego gets, it pales in comparison to
That's
pretty much
the truth.
every other ego in DC.
Yeah, there you go. This is a city of egos. Well, one thing I've noticed, this is a city that is now, if it were rain, we would be up to our necks in calls for unity. And I have to be honest, to me, it doesn't really feel like they're that serious a call for unity. I think it's a code word for something else, but I wanted to ask you because you don't just, mine's a gut reaction. Yours is more of a scientific reaction because you guys actually monitor in a very scientific way what's being said and done and so forth. So I wanted to ask you to kind of illuminate us.
It's completely bogus. So what the press does, this is the press. When people that they support win, they call for unity. When people they oppose win, they call for every challenge under the sun, and then
to resist
forever reinforcing those challenges. And then when you don't want to support them, like, why are you objecting to this? So let's flash back a little bit. 2000, Al Gore challenged all the way to Supreme Court. Nary a complaint. In fact, the only complaint when people were calling to count the votes down in Florida, the left called it a riot, which their definition of riot versus now changed just a little bit. People banging on the glass saying count the votes and versus people burning, looting, pillaging, and beating up people and stuff. So then,
well, it's been 20 years. I suppose the definition could just change over time, right?
Oh yeah, sure. So George Bush wins that election, and the media spend 8 years minus just a little bit of time after 9/11, calling him resident. They would use the lowercase p, the uppercase R, for resident, saying that George Bush was not a legitimate president. Yeah. They referred to him, compared him to Hitler. He was a Nazi. Pretty much a standard program for the left.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I always find interesting. My friends on the left will say, well, but I mean, Donald Trump brought all this on himself. If he were nice the way Bush was nice, we wouldn't be saying these things. And I'm like, okay. And so you might repeat, you just said, because you're right.
Yeah. They said it's about Bush. People forget that the left has standard operating procedure. Everyone on the right is a collection of crazy, evil, stupid, or racist, or all of them.
Right.
They've dropped all of them on Donald Trump.
And just to make it clear, it's people who carry important positions. This is not some kind of like crank on social media who said this about us. It's people like Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Who tweets that.
Go back to Reagan.
Yeah.
Reagan was crazy because he's senile or whatever. That was their line. George H.W. Bush takes over. He used to head the CIA. Evil. Reagan was. They also call Reagan racist. So evil. So then son. Oh, he's stupid. Okay, so George W. Bush is stupid, but he was also a Nazi. Trump, they hit him with all of them. I mean, just everything, because they're not shy anymore about anybody who disagrees with them is all of the above now. And so let's go back to 2016, where Donald Trump won an election, and the major media freaked out. Big tech freaked out so bad that Google had a company-wide meeting where they all had a cry-in. And that's really not hyperbole. And so what did the major media do? They pushed out stories about faithless electors, tried to encourage people to actually overturn the election in the Electoral College. They spent 4 years promoting that Donald Trump was a phony victor, that Russia had gotten involved. They called him essentially saying he's a traitor. And
they had smoking guns, as I recall. I think that Adam Schiff told us numerous times that he had seen, so he wasn't speculating after all. I mean, he was he was on the intelligence committee. He had access to things we don't have access to. And he told us he had seen smoking guns.
And then,
that didn't age well.
Up till recently, Hillary Clinton has continued to maintain that the election was illegitimate. That
she could beat him again.
In 2018, 2 Democrat governors or governor aspirants, Stacey Abrams and Gillum in Florida, both claimed that their election was stolen. Now we don't hear about Gillum anymore because he got caught in a ridiculous scandal, and he's got to disappear for a while before he can resurface. Having been to whatever. Addiction facility you go to for being found out with, in the scandalous way that he was found out. Yeah. But Stacey Abrams, to this day, is promoted on network news as having the election stolen when, she lost by a wider margin than currently Trump is behind. But she still claims it was stolen.
Right,
and they put her out there
and the media lets her get away with it. They don't if every single time Trump tweets something about having won the election, they put all kinds of flags on it and tell you that's not true. It's disputed, but she gets to say this garbage all the time, and they echo it.
I mean, let's
There's
be honest.
No tags, no information that.
She's liberal. She's liberal and African American. She can say absolutely anything, and the big tech people wouldn't dare touch it. Now, if she were conservative and African American, they'd say anything. They go after her.
They'd savage her.
We saw that. So this election, everything we were told about this election was wrong. Absolutely everything.
Technically, I think it was on November 3rd, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, they got that wrong.
Actually, not even that, because it happened tons before. But the big blue wave that was going to sweep the nation. Everybody hates Donald Trump. Oh, they're going to win everything. Yeah. Well, it turns out as of right now, Democrats lost every questionable race. They lost all the races that the GOP, that maybe they were questionable for GOP. They lost a bunch of other ones as well. Nancy Pelosi is hanging on by the skin of her teeth to the House, as majority leader, and or Speaker of the House, and you're in a situation now where, that was wrong. Then the Senate looks like right now, at least, the GOP holds the Senate with all the scandals that are coming up involving Reverend Warnock in Georgia. I feel fairly comfortable that he is not going to win. At least the GOP will hold one Senate advantage, maybe 2. Maybe they win both those. Warnock may drag down his fellow Senate candidate.
Yeah, they made a mistake of picking a real lunatic. If you listen to that guy talk, I mean, people in the military are evil.
You can't be Christian if you're in the military. Yeah.
Right. And then he had what else he was saying? He's also said a lot of other like Jesus is a Marxist.
Yeah. Well, he's also he's pro Castro.
Yeah, he's pro-Castro, pro-communist. Yeah, it's just kind of like you listen to the stuff this guy says, and you scratch your head and think to yourself, he's a lunatic. He is so far outside the mainstream. I don't know that he could get elected in California.
Well,
and yet they're running him.
At least in the Senate. Maybe not in the House, because the House depends on what part of California it is.
But they're running him. Well, but even, for example, Kamala Harris, who's a left-wing lunatic, when she ran, she didn't run as a left-wing lunatic. She ran as a prosecutor, a tough law enforcement kind of gal. You know, that's what I'm saying. So that tells me she knew that her real brand of politics wasn't really that popular, and that she had to hide it.
Stacey Abrams liberal.
Right.
And that's what. So that's how they got Warnock. You end up with you've got this national figure. Remember, for a while, Stacey Abrams tried to muscle her way into being a vice presidential candidate, and I think the Democrats realized that would be suicidal. But the press are trying not to cover any of this, and that's where we really get into this whole show. So the party calling for unity are also the party that just a month and a half ago, the leader of the party, Joe Biden, was comparing Donald Trump to Goebbels. So not really all of that. A lot of reasons not to believe there's unity going on, but the press keeps saying, oh, there's unity. And it's basically agree with us or you're daring to disagree with unity.
Right. No, you're exactly right. I think that is a very good synopsis of where we're at right now, because on some level, what they really want is for people like you and me, our viewers, our listeners, to shut up and just fall in line, because that's the program. And you obviously haven't gotten the memo, but you need to read our memo. And
I've gotten the memo. It's usually obnoxiously delivered via Twitter.
Yeah, there you go. But it is interesting, because if they actually wanted unity, then people like Joe Biden would call out the people who have created target lists. I'm on one. They would call out people who, like Michelle Obama, who called 71 million Americans racist and motivated by hatred. You know, they'd say, wait a minute, come on, guys, we're trying to be unified. But they don't. They just tell you, get in line now. And it doesn't really feel that sincere, but we are up against the break. I'm glad you can stick around for another segment, because there's lots more to discuss, and I always like the way you clarify things and make them clear. But I want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. You can check out our website if you want more information, or a rebroadcast, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We will be right back with more from Dan Gaynor.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits, including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available, and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show on the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course our Roku channel and Al Gore's amazing internet. You can check us out on our website, ccrshow.com. It's all there. We've been talking with Dan Gaynor, who is the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. He's a veteran of journalism. He's been published all over the world. If they publish something, he's probably been printed there. But Dan, I appreciate you sticking through the break. We've got lots more to discuss. This has been another one of those slow news weeks. We've got big hearing earlier this week with the high-tech executives. And I wanted to talk to you about that because I was kind of flabbergasted by how little they knew, and times where I was pretty sure they were actually lying to us. And I always thought it was against the law to lie when you're under oath, but maybe I missed something and that was repealed at some point, but maybe not any,
I think it's against the law when you and I lie under oath. I think more important people get away with more.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if you're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to one half the people in the room, you're probably going to get away with it.
So the hearing was to put this in, easy to understand why this matters. The hearing was about how Facebook and Twitter censored the Hunter Biden scandal. The Hunter Biden scandal, where it is alleged his son was involved with Chinese businesses and basically selling access to his dad. And it's further alleged later on that his dad knew about it. So that would be big, especially in this context of where the media constantly say Russians are enemy and China's our friend. China might be a little bit more friendly to some of us than others. China's not leaving any money on the nightstand for me, but then again, they're not also spending the night with me, which they may well be doing with Hunter Biden or his dad. So when the New York Times or New York Post came out with this story prior to the election, as soon as it came out, Facebook announced that, we think this might be the result of hacked materials, we're going to restrict it. And then Twitter followed by literally shutting down the New York Post Twitter account and suspending anybody who posted the story. Even one of the MRC people, Curtis Houck, Newsbusters managing editor, got his account suspended. Well, 24 hours later, Twitter backed off a little bit and allowed you to post the story, but they still wouldn't. They said, we have no retroactive policy to rescind our ruling. So they basically wouldn't let New York Post back on for 17 days. So,
we have no retroactive policy.
Yeah.
So you admit you screw up. You're willing to say that to Congress, but you kind of shrug your shoulders and say, I don't really know what to do about it. And it's kind of like, I think it's kind of obvious. A third grader could figure this one out. This is not that complicated.
So what happened was, to put it simply, those two outlets censored the story. And unlike in the past, when there's major issues of censorship, the traditional press has always stood by other news outlets for censorship. The Pentagon Papers are a great example how other news organizations were ready to run with the Pentagon Papers to back up the New York Times if need be. Didn't happen. Why is that? It was making Hunter Biden and Joe Biden look bad. So the major press were okay with silencing it as well. So
even the press isn't pro First Amendment anymore.
Now, but here's the result. we did a poll of Biden voters, had McLaughlin and Associates do this poll. And what we found is 36% of them didn't know anything about the story. 36%, more than a third of them didn't know about the Hunter Biden scandal. And if they had, 4.6% said that they would have voted otherwise. The result
that makes sense to me, because it seems to me if you're voting for Joe Biden and you know that it appears that he has been getting money, his family's been getting money from the Chinese, that they're compromised, and a anti-communist website in Asia basically put up a bunch of stuff that we didn't even have here in America yet, said that we have copies of this stuff. The Chinese do too, and they've been using it, by the way. Beware. It wasn't some Republican group. It was a group that has a long history of opposing the communist Chinese. They were basically saying, "America, wake up." And it would, I'm actually a little surprised that only 4% of them would have changed their vote. It's like, really?
Well, but
because you tell me, if you can prove to me that Mr. Trump was on the payroll of the Communist Chinese Party, I'd have a hard time pulling the lever for him.
But like I said, it would have been enough to turn the election. So under our analysis, Trump would have gotten 283 electoral votes. That's enough to win.
Yeah.
So if things go on the path they are right now, where let's say Trump doesn't win in court, and I'll be honest, I think he's got a tough road ahead of him to do so. Then Facebook and Twitter alone, just on one story, fixed the presidential election of the United States. And then you look at all the other things they did and all the other things traditional media did. Traditional media, two narratives where they really fixed the news. One active and one by commission, one by omission. The commission is they lied about Donald Trump and said he was a Russian agent, for 4 years.
Right.
They basically said Donald Trump's a traitor. 4 years.
Yeah, that's been completely disproven, and I still hear people repeat it as if it's truth, and they act flabbergasted like I'm the conspiracy theorist when I point out even the Mueller report doesn't allege that. It basically kind of goes, no evidence of that. Sorry.
That's okay. So that's the actual commission. They put out this false narrative and never got restricted for it. Never. That's okay. That's not lying, even though it's lying. And then the bias by omission is just as bad. Donald Trump had this epically great economy until COVID hit. I mean, all-time low unemployment numbers for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, just across the board. Yeah. Unemployment below a point where we were told it could never get. So then COVID turns around, and yet the economy rebounds from COVID to the point where we have the best quarter, third quarter, best quarter in American history. 33.1% growth in one quarter annualized.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Insane V-shaped recovery. Unemployment dropped at that point in time to 7.9%, which is exactly where it was when Barack Obama was reelected. And the media don't even want to cover it. In fact, when they did, they were almost always saying, "Oh, well, really, it's going to get worse." And then, a week later, we get the unemployment numbers, and then they drop to 6.9%. They have been wrong. The press has been wrong about everything. Look at the House of Representatives. How many Republicans are in there now? Look at the economy. They were wrong about that. Look about
state legislatures, governors, everything was going to be blue. Everything, because the public was going to come out. I mean, it's just kind of funny because it is funny to watch them. They seem pretty down in the mouth about having won everything.
Well, and of course, all minorities are going to vote their way.
Right.
And it turns out right now it looks like 18% of African American men voted for Donald Trump. That's an epic number. Hispanics. Shocking, I know. Hispanics don't actually like socialism. Hispanics who
they've had some experience with it.
Yeah, exactly. Hispanics who they themselves or family and friends have come from Cuba, Venezuela, and other socialist areas in Central and South America reject socialism. So Trump won Florida, Trump won Texas. As the governor of Texas was pointing out today, Texas was never in play, but parts of Texas are now in play, and those are the parts of Texas that have historically been blue and very Hispanic. Now, well, they're actually kind of purple, and Republicans did real well in those areas. And so what you see, even in California, Republicans did well. The media were wrong. They're wrong about the economy, wrong about Russia, wrong about the election. And then they turn around and say, but you have to trust us. No, actually, we don't.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, actually, we don't. That's a very, very good point. Dan, you guys do great work there, and I think it would be really helpful if you remind our viewers and our listeners how they can follow the work that the MRC does. And you've got a number of different ways for folks to interface with you, and if they do, they'll be much more aware and savvy about what the media is doing. So fill us in.
People should follow. Go to our newsbusters.org blog. We fill that up with lots of media bias. And then if they want to support the organization or sign up for our newsletters, they should go to mrc.org. Remember, we are a 501c3, which means we're a nonprofit. And since we're heading into the end of the year, when people want to donate, every donation, big or small, helps us. It enables us to do the work. If you want to follow me, you should follow me on Twitter at Dan Gaynor, DANGAINOR, for, I guess you could say, full contact Twitter. And I also write regularly for Fox News Opinion, and I wrote a piece on this issue, in fact, about what Twitter and Facebook did. I've been writing for Fox Opinion for like 15 years or more. And so it's a great way for people to see my writing as well.
Excellent. I would recommend they put that in their favorites list so that they can frequent those sites and follow you on Twitter. They'll be smarter for having done so.
Thank you.
We're up against the break, but I do want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth, and the Conservative Commandos will be right back after these messages, so don't go away. Do want to remind you about our website, ccrshow.com. A lot of information there, including rebroadcast. We'll be back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show. Thanks to the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network. We now even have a Roku station. And if you don't have either a broadcast tower or Roku, never fear, because Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. We are truly everywhere. Well, maybe not in China, North Korea, and Iran, but everywhere else, we're there. My name's George Landreth. I'm one of your Conservative Commando hosts, and I'm glad you stuck around because we have a great guest. Before we get started, I just want to remind you, if you want to rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. We are very fortunate to have Craig Huey with us. Now, just so you know, you may already know who Craig Huey is, but he is a business owner, he's a marketing expert, he's an author, a speaker, and he was an American Republican Party candidate who owns 2 direct marketing companies and is, as well, has several websites that provide guidelines for voting. He's made a real effort to essentially help other Americans be involved in politics in a positive, helpful way. And so with that, I just want to welcome you, Craig, to the Conservative Commandos. We're really glad you're here. We're always proud of our guests. I will tell you, we really do have the best guests consistently, and so we're very proud to add you to that list.
Well, George, it's an honor to be with you, and I look forward to talking about this election and voter fraud and what's happening today.
Absolutely. Let's jump in and talk. I mean, this is a very close election. I had predicted that at least on a percentage basis it would be close. I was predicting that Trump would win, and I think he still can. But it's but it's not going to be a landslide. But if he wins all the states that are in question, it would be on par with his first win, and that's kind of where I predicted it would be. Even though I said that the percentage in the popular vote would be very tight. But can you give us some insights as to why it was so tight, and what we're seeing now, and maybe how it'll even play out in the Senate races that we're going to see in the coming months in January in Georgia for the runoffs?
Well, it's an incredibly tight race. And George, we look at these results, we see how close they are. Why? Well, part of it has to do with the voter fraud and the mail-in votes and the ballot harvesting. But part of it also are the campaigns themselves. Trump got 81% of the evangelical vote in those key swing states in the previous election. So back in 2016, he shocked everybody because conservative Catholics, evangelicals, they went for Trump, and they couldn't, the media, the politicians, the commentators, they could not believe what happened. Well, this time out, Biden concentrated on evangelical Christians and concentrated on the conservative Catholics. You see, Hillary, she ignored them. Unlike Obama, she didn't even have a group within her whole organization reaching out to the Christians. But Biden spent over $30 million. He had the most advanced digital marketing in being able to identify evangelicals, conservative Catholics, and what their key issues were so that they could suppress the Christian vote or flip the Christian vote, depending upon what their advanced status said. They were successful in many ways. Like 4 years ago, Trump got 81%. This year, it looks like he's got 77 or 78%. Now, that may sound like a small amount of loss of percentage-wise of that vote. You're talking about millions of voters.
Right. And he lost by a small percentage, so you don't have to go out and find 50% somewhere to change the outcome. You're exactly right.
Exactly. So understand this. The evangelical vote is a 27% of the total vote in America. It's huge. And the fact is, they knew that. They undermined the evangelical vote. Now, that being said, as we look at Georgia, which is key to making sure that the Senate stops the radical policies that Biden and the House of Representatives want to implement and initiate, Democrats know their data. They know who went out and voted. and they're going to go out and bring them in again. It's going to be hard for them to get new voters. The Republicans, hopefully they got the data too and are going to do the same thing. Where do they find more votes? Well, it's the evangelical Christians. In the Georgia churches, approximately 30% of the evangelicals are not registered to vote. And of those who are registered to vote, about 50% did not vote in the November election. So in Georgia, it's necessary to register. It's necessary to mobilize the evangelical vote if we're going to win. Right now, the Senate candidates, they're like, depending on the poll, it's like 48 to 49. It's like 47 to 49. It's so close. And so that's where the evangelicals are the key to the Senate race. And they're really the key to whoever's going to be running for president again 4 years from now.
That's very interesting. I did not realize that the participation in Georgia had dropped. And,
yes.
And that's interesting because I had observed, even among my own friends, people who I had thought of as conservatives, yes, and as practicing, faith-based Christian voters.
Yes.
Tell me that they were going to be voting for Biden. And I remember I made my head want to explode. Because one, Biden is not a uniter like he told us. I mean, this is the guy who gave us the verb to bork. This is the guy who presided over that hearing as the chairman. He also presided over the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas. Yes. This is the guy who in 2012 said that the Republicans wanted to put blacks back in chains. Mm-hmm. He's the guy that when he was confronted with a young female college voter, calls her a lying, a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he talks to a senior citizen who's asking him a question, and his response to him is say, "Listen, Fats." I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is not really a very unifying guy. This is a guy who seems to be, he has issues. And, and then on top of it, on all kinds of policy issues that I think matter, for example, what has Joe Biden said about religious freedom?
Yeah.
He has said it's a safe harbor for hate. Yeah. In other words, it's an excuse to say your freedom of religion should be taken away because it just lets you be hateful. So if you're a Christian, you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I think this is the way the Romans viewed us. And fed us to lions. This is, and then, on his team, he's got free speech people that are, so it makes my head want to explode. That doesn't even get to the issue of life. And this guy is he's not even personally opposed. He says he's going to promote it. That was his words, not mine. Promote abortion.
You're 100% right. He'll be the most pro-abortion president we've ever had. And, I wrote a book called The Christian Voter, and it talks about 7 non-negotiables. There's the issue of religious liberty. There's the issue of pro-life. George, there's also the issue of Israel. He's going to undo all the pro-Israel actions that President Trump has done. There's the issue of the persecuted church. Most people don't know all that this last 4 years has done to protect the persecuted church and try to promote religious freedom. That's going to stop. Yeah. There are so many different issues. So the
lockdowns to me show a lack of respect for religious liberty, because the First Amendment tells us that the church is special. It gets special treatment in the sense that it's hands off. They don't get special favors, but they are basically, the government can regulate your business. They can regulate your, if you're a farmer, they can regulate your farm. They can do all kinds of things, but they can't go inside your church and regulate how you preach. And yet there's...
They're trying to do that. And of course, we've got the lockdown in the churches. But here's the thing. The pastors and the church leaders, they need to be able to speak out on these issues. And part of the Biden campaign was targeting pastors, targeting youth leaders to suppress that Christian vote, talking about basically to the point where I went to church on Sunday before the election. I also listened to 2 Sunday morning services of major mega churches online. None of those 3 churches did the pastor even mention that there was an election this coming Tuesday. Those pastors all believed that Trump was right. They were against Biden, but they were silent. There was no call upon the church throughout the United States, get out and vote. And that's got to stop for the next election. And in Georgia, we've got to motivate those pastors, the youth leaders, the singles leaders, the women, men leaders, the leadership of the church and the Christians there to get out and vote.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's scary to me that, I sensed some of that. I had some friends who it seemed like, and they asked me the same questions enough that I almost got the impression someone had given them these questions. But they were always asking me, how can you justify voting for Donald Trump? And it was kind of like, well, it's really not that hard. But, so I'd explain to them. But the bottom line is someone essentially deposited this thought in their brain that as a conservative Christian, somehow Donald Trump was objectionable. Yeah. And so you make a very, very good point. But we are up against the break, so I think what we'll do real quick, thankfully you can stick around because there's more to talk about, and you've been incredibly interesting thus far, so I have every confidence that the second half of this interview will be equally interesting. But just want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth, and we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, the AUN TV Network, which stands for the America Uncensored News Network, and of course on Al Gore's amazing internet. You can get us on all kinds of iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live, but also our own website, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more from Craig Huey.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course Roku, and also we thank Al Gore and his amazing internet. And we've been talking with Craig Huey. And Craig, when we first spoke, you mentioned voter fraud as an issue. And we talked more about kind of what happened in the election, and particularly about how the Christian vote was somewhat suppressed. Let's look into voter fraud. You've done a lot of research on that. We're told there is no voter fraud. And then when someone points out there is, is it's very little voter fraud. And my understanding is there's enough of it out there that this tight election could flip, assuming we bother to pursue it.
Well, George, there is voter fraud, and Democrats are aware of it. Republicans are aware of it. They all are aware of it. It's happened for years and years. It's happened since the beginning of voting. The problem is now it's spiked. It's skyrocketed. It's so much more than it ever has been before, and that's for 3 reasons. So let's talk about reason number 1. It's called ballot harvesting. And many of your viewers, they're not sure what ballot harvesting is. So let me kind of explain what it is. In 29 states, it's legal. In 19 states, it's illegal. In the other states, it may not be said, but in every state, they try to do it. So what is it? Ballot harvesting is where you have the ability to collect multiple ballots from people outside your household. And the Democrats have perfected this. The unions have perfected this. They have a trained army at how to do this professionally. And what happens often in California spreads across the United States. And in 2018, they passed a law allowing full-on ballot harvesting in California. They trained on that, created an army to go to have coffees, to go to different types of groups, and to go door to door with paid volunteers going door to door. And what they would do is they had the data of who the persuadables were, who their supporters were. They would not go to a door of anybody they thought would vote Republican, only Democrat. And so they'd come to the door sometimes 5, 6 times until they talked to somebody. And they would then offer to get their ballot. And some of these ballot harvesters got 100, 500, 1,000 ballots. Now let me tell you, that is not fraud, but it can lead to voter fraud. And when you have a ballot harvester, let me tell you about Lulu. One of the people I have on my website is Lulu. She's one of many ballot harvesters. She had come to this one household 5 times, knocking on the door. And she wanted to talk to the millennial daughter that could probably vote for her. They had the data saying that she's interested in education and supported them on the education issue. The parents answered the door, and Ring video recorded that they were asking, what's going on? She said, I'm a Democratic, looking only for Democrats to get their ballot. I'll take their ballot. I can help them how to vote. So what they do, she would not talk to the Republican parents. Now, if she had, and she had got their ballots, she could have thrown them away. Nobody would know. Nobody knows who she is or any of the ballot harvesters. There's no audit trail. They just bring in 1,000 ballots to the voter box, put them in the voter box, and that's it. Now, what she did is she had a voter guide from president down to city council and was able to say who to vote for. Now, that is a lot of threat, because what if you had a ballot harvester saying they're a Republican, but they were really a Democrat, throwing away the ballots? What we have seen throughout the United States, what's called Grammy ballot harvesting, where they go into a nursing home and they pick up the ballots of all the people in that nursing home. They fill out the ballots and they turn those ballots in. What about going to apartment complexes and gathering together the ballots in the apartment complexes? They have data on who's moved away. They have data on who has gotten multiple ballots. They have data on who's dead, and having a concentrated campaign. They can do what's called ballot harvesting coercion. The union can say, you can work, but only after you give me your ballot. There's a variety of different ways of doing this that is absolutely corrupt. And if I saw that this ballot was not voted on the way I want to, I can throw it away and nobody would know. I can help guide them as to how to vote downstream so that you can flip things. So in California, people were absolutely shocked in 2018 that on election day, 7 conservative Republican congressmen that everybody expected to win re-election, they won it on election day. After election day, when the ballot harvesting votes were counted, they lost the election. And so did state senators and assemblymen and city council and school board people. It was a wipeout. Now, that is playing out again this election, where on election day, Trump wins, But after Election Day, when you count the mail-in ballots, he loses. And a lot of that is ballot harvesting. And so, George, it's a corrupt thing. But it also goes with the second thing, which is this universal mail-in ballot. Across the United States, states send out ballots to anybody. Now, the first thing is the ballots that they send it out to are what we call dirty voter rolls. There are people who have died, people who have moved away. In California, there was close to 400,000 people like that. In every state, there's these dirty voter rolls. Some people get multiple ones, and who signs up? It's corrupt the way people sign up. In my book, The Deep State, I have a chapter on voter fraud. And what I did, can I show you something here for those who are watching? This is a mail-in ballot. And one of the people working with me on the book, I told them, go ahead and register your dog to vote. She registered the dog to vote at my office address. Now that's two things that are illegal: registering a dog, voting at an office building. This is the ballot. 4 elections I've gotten this ballot. Now I moved my offices. I'm a refugee from California. I moved my office out of California to Tennessee. This ballot is the one that came for the November election following me to Tennessee. This is, how do you detect this? That's the problem with ballot harvesting. That's the problem with this universal mailing absentee ballots. To try to detect this type of fraud is extremely hard. If you don't have voter ID, you have no control. And so those are the two main things. The third part has to do with the voting system, the voting polling itself, with who's there, how in these democratic cities they can control the votes, the software. All these things involving the polling centers are another part of the controversy. You add these 3 things together, George, we do not have an honest election. And whether Trump wins the lawsuits is a big question. He's got to win it quickly because time's running out. But he needs to pursue the lawsuits because this is a president that has certain legacies. One is he wasn't paying attention to the political experts. He was the outsider. He went ahead and did things with Israel and other countries that nobody would have dreamed of because he's the outsider. He called out the media for its bias, and he wasn't afraid to do so. He went after the swamp and the deep state and tried to do what he could to clean it and expose it. His greatest legacy might be trying to clear up the election for the 2020 election and the 2022 election, because somebody has to do it. And this is the best opportunity we have in history to show the fraud and come up with solutions for that fraud. Sure.
My second to last question would be, when you point out voter fraud, you are undermining our confidence in elections. And so I would assume that the person also believes that when you talk about bank robberies, you are undermining our confidence in our banking system. But I just ask you, how would you respond to that? And then secondly, I was just going to ask you, how can our viewers and our listeners be up on all things that are, Craig Huey, newsletters, websites, books, the whole 9 yards?
So what I would suggest is this, that whenever you're talking to somebody, it is true. The democratic republic we have, its foundation is the integrity of the election. The world is watching. America's watching. We have to have trust in it. If you ignore this problem, you're going to have 72 million people plus many more throughout the world questioning it. We have to restore the hope and the dream of a fair election. And George, people can contact me at craighuey.com. And on craighuey.com, I have a newsletter that has original, unique material exposing this type of thing. And then I have a Deep State book. You can see it there. You can get the Deep State book on Amazon. And then my book, The Christian Voter, talking about those 7 non-negotiables. That is a book that they need to give to their pastors, church leaders, Christian leaders. They need to get that book in their hands because we need to start now for the next election. And we even have a campaign that they can identify on the website, craighuey.com, to send the book to pastors and church leaders and Christians in Georgia right now.
That's important because it's coming up less than 2 months away. Thanks for spending this time with us, Craig. We really appreciate it. Excellent information.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
We are up against the break, so I just want to let our listeners know this is the Conservative Commandos, and we will be right back after these messages. If you want more information or our rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show, the AM and TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, Roku, and of course our website, ccrshow.com, on Al Gore's amazing internet. We're glad you stuck around. Our time's about up, but Melissa and I do want to thank you for having tuned in today. We want to thank our guests. We had some really good guests. We really appreciated Dan Gaynor, Craig Huey, and Hans von Spakovsky. So, as always, one of the hallmarks of our show is great guests. Melissa, I think it is appropriate for folks to know how they can follow the stuff that you work on.
I'm actually a family court reform advocate. I'm a family law attorney, and my firm is a men's rights firm. We're a father's rights firm. So they can follow us on Facebook at Isaac Law Firm. And then I'm on Parler at Melissa Isaac, and Facebook, Melissa Isaac, and it's Isaac with a K. But that's what I do, and that's how people can follow me and find me.
Fair enough. That's awesome. I'm George Landreth, and you can follow me on my website for the Frontiers of Freedom, which is just ff.org. Twitter is G Landreth, and Parler is now just George Landreth. No, actually, it's real George Landreth. But anyhow, our time is up, but we want to thank you for tuning in, and also to let you know that we will be back. The Conservative Commandos will be back tomorrow, so don't go away. We appreciate your viewership, your listenership. God bless.